Hello! Welcome to answering your most asked questions about me. So hi, welcome. My name's Morgan. I asked you to ask me the questions that you're dying to know about me, and I got so many great responses, so many great questions. I probably can't answer all of them, but by far the most asked question I got is, where do you store all your clothes and why did you keep everything? So where I store all my clothes is right here in this closet. In this closet. Also, my shoes are out right there. I have a whole closet tour already up on this channel, so you can go watch that if you want me to do a more in-depth closet tour where like I really get into the nitty-gritty. That's kind of like an overview of my closet. Let me know. I do keep just a couple bags in my basement, and I do have an office that I do a lot of my work out of, my treasure trove vintage stuff out of. Primarily 90% of it is in this closet and the closet in the other room. So that's where I keep my things. Now, why did I keep everything? This is a long story. Part 1, I have OCD and I have compulsions to keep everything, okay? I was diagnosed with OCD at 16 and I attach a lot of sentimentality to the things that I own, and I've had a really hard time throughout my life getting rid of things to the point where I almost became a hoarder. And when I moved to this place from my old place, I realized how bad it had gotten. I forced myself to get better. Okay, I gave a lot away, I'm giving a lot away, and I realized, like, you know, I just don't want this clutter. I don't want to become my dad. Sorry, Dad. But the other part of it is I bought a lot in my early 20s. My philosophy has always been to never buy anything full price. I'll put like an image of my original blog bio here where I talked about never buying anything full price, and my motto here on my YouTube channel for over 10 years was stay cheap and lazy, where I talked about never buying anything full price, always buying secondhand. So I've been in the secondhand like sustainable for a really long time, and I actually went back and watched one of my old YouTube videos from 2018 where I was talking about how I didn't want to buy from fast fashion anymore, and that was like when I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. I spent a lot of time in my 20s collecting, and then in my mid-20s, I had a mental break. And you can see I stopped posting videos around that time. Funnily enough, was one of the busiest parts of my life. My partner is a content creator, and we were going to a lot of cons for his work. And so I was the busiest I had ever been, and I was kind of like buying stuff, collecting stuff, and I bought things that I wanted to see myself wear forever, and I kind of really didn't absorb anything that was happening to me. It kind of was just all happening to me because of my mental state. So one day I looked around and noticed, you know, during the pandemic I woke up, looked around, looked at all my clothes, and realized that I just want to enjoy what I already have even more than I have been. So that is what this whole journey of showing my clothes has been, partly why I also have everything. So let's get into some of the questions that I found that super interesting to me. I got asked what's the oldest thing I kept in my collection a lot. One of the oldest things I have are my tattoo chokers that I've showed before. So the Virgo bracelet that I bought with my allowance at a festival. Oh, it's got cat hair all over. One of my oldest things. One of my favorite questions I got was, what is the origin of your username? And I was obsessed with The Little Mermaid when I was younger. I'm not a Disney adult by any means, but I was obsessed with The Little Mermaid, and I had this box collection of books when I was younger of these Little Mermaid books called The Treasure Trove. And when I was starting my blog, so my username Treasure X Trove goes all the way back to my blog. And I was thinking, how do I think of my collection of clothes? A treasure trove. So then, being the X scene kid that I am, I had to add an X in there and immortalize my elder emo status as Treasure X Trove forever. So I've had this username since 2010. I'm not about to abandon it now. I've literally had the Instagram that I randomly blew up on since 2011. You can scroll back and see how embarrassing I was if you ever want to. Please don't. Another one of the most asked questions I got was, how do you take care of your clothes? How do you keep them in such good condition? And I will let you know, how you wash is half the battle. So first of all, I don't have laundry at this place. I live in a 900 square foot townhouse that has no laundry. So luckily, my parents live about 15 minutes away. I take all my laundry to do at my parents'. I use a really old washing machine, probably from the 60s. And you want to wash on a low agitation cycle. Okay. What you want to do is air dry as much as you can. Anything that doesn't have natural fibers, like for example, this is a shirt that has stretch in it, right? It has some polyester in it. You want to either dry on low heat, or you want to air dry. Natural fibers, you can crank up the heat a little bit more, but anything that doesn't really have natural fibers, you're going to want to air dry or put on low heat. Low heat really makes the difference. You want to stick to simple things on your clothes too. You don't want to like overload on the detergent pods, the scent pods. I just use standard detergent and standard fabric softener, nothing else, because a lot of the stuff that you put in to wash the clothes with will also break them down over time. The laundry care, no drying on a high heat. That's just gonna ruin everything. Case in point, I bought some jeans at Target, which I have Target by the way, but I'm not shopping at Target anymore. But I bought some jeans at Target a few years ago. I accidentally put them in the dryer on high heat without even thinking, and they came out so messed up when I had been washing them in the dryer and putting them in the dryer on low heat, and they came out fine. High heat, blasting them with heat, especially like I said, if they're not natural fibers, it's gonna ruin them. It's just gonna ruin your clothes. A lot of people asked if I regretted getting rid of any pieces, and to that I say I have not gotten rid of nearly enough pieces to sit and regret with longing. When I was 13, I had a pair of those original like patchwork denim pants. Put a picture. I had a pair of those. I don't have a picture of me wearing them, but I had them, and I gave them away when I was a teenager because I was like in my all black emo era, which I still am in my heart. It will never leave me, but I regret getting rid of those, even though there's no way I will ever fit into those again. Because, listen, I don't show a lot of the clothes that I don't fit into anymore. I only show the clothes that I still fit into. There's so many clothes that I don't fit into, and all of them are the pants. Okay, my hips are not the 13-year-old girl's hips anymore. I am proud of that, okay? I do regret selling at my vintage shop. I had this Gunny Sacks dress, okay? I modeled it. I did a whole lookbook with it. And if you want to see that lookbook, let me know. I regret selling it because now Gunny Sacks are so expensive and I probably never would have worn it, so it's probably better that I did end up selling it, but I regret selling that. I regret it. What was my first concert was another question I loved. My first concert was the 2004 Warped Tour, and specifically Yellow Card Set. I did have a crazy story from the 2004 Warped Tour where when they used to launch that guy out of the cannon every single year, and I'm from Rochester, so I would go to the Darien Lake Warped Tour, and this was the last year that they had the Warped Tour on the gravel parking lot. Why they had it in the gravel parking lot and not on the actual grounds that year, I don't know, but they launched this man out of a cannon, and I was walking around by myself looking at all the different merch tents, and this man went flying by me and landed in the fence. Like, he hit the fence right next to me and fell into the gravel because the cannon launch went wrong, and I'm 14 standing there like, the hell just happened? This question's great. Do you feel like clothing quality now is worse than the stuff from the 2000s or the 2010s? Absolutely. Absolutely, and there's so many contributing factors to this. Fast fashion was always not great, right? It was always known for being low quality, for being fast, for like pumping out whole new collections every single change of season and creating a ton of waste. It was always known for that. However, there are a lot of things that shifted this, and just from my perspective, especially working in, fashion for a really long time, during COVID, corporations, they always are about that bottom dollar. and they really realized that people will just still buy even if the quality is as worse as they could possibly get it. Because, like, what are we gonna do? Lockdown era and really sad and isolated and disconnected from each other. I feel like there's a lot of consumption going on, especially from younger people. Corporations were like, oh, we can make things really crappy and get away with it. And that's not the consumer's fault. I'm not putting this on the consumer at all. But corporations being greedy and evil and wanting to have a higher profit margin is part of it. And then the collapse of the textile industry in general, which comes also from this problem. Very few textile factories now that make quality textiles, and this is also why when you go and buy a piece that's supposed to be luxury, it also falls apart, is because these fabrics are all coming from the same like 3 factories now, and they don't make quality. You cannot buy fabric the same way. They don't even make it the same way anymore. And that's why quality has dropped across the board, no matter how expensive things are or how cheap things are. If you are buying something that's made of fabric, even furniture, the quality is going to be diminished. I would highly recommend doing some of your own research into the collapse of the textile industry, but basically we live in an oligarch hell, and that is why we are here. Okay, we are so back. Now that my battery is charged again, it's a completely different day. And we have a special guest. But I don't even know if I like the answers to my other part, so I was in a really weird mood that day. I was still recovering from being sick. I'm feeling a lot better now. So let's answer more questions. I got some great ones. Do you feel are staples in building a personal wardrobe? Thank you. And honestly, after doing this my whole life, I don't know how to answer that question because I always just bought what I liked based on instinct, and then I looked around one day and realized I don't even have like staples in my collection because I just was like buying pieces that I really thought I would love. I would save up and get one pair of jeans that fits you so nice in whatever style and rise works for you. For example, for me, I love a good mid to high rise, like mom's type of jean, and I have like one that's my go-to pair. A couple basic t-shirts that you can wear under anything, like in black and white, and a jean jacket. Okay, a jean jacket that you love. Oh, and everyday shoes that you love that you can wear with anything. Other than that, honestly, I've just kind of like gone on instinct and bought things that I loved just because I loved them. If that makes sense. I don't know. I hope that helps. You know, do like a whole thrifting video on like what to look for at the thrift store, because someone asked that, and that answer requires just so much. Basically, like, make sure you comb through everything, make sure you're looking for natural fibers, making sure you're looking for expensive stuff. I do have a really old video from like 2015, I think, about what to look for in sweaters at the thrift store that I'll link here, because even though I was super awkward and like I think 24 in that video, I think I still gave some good advice, so you can start there. Best online secondhand store in your opinion? Example, Depop, eBay, Poshmark. I've been a Depop user since the beginning, and I know Depop has a reputation for being everything is overpriced and the girlies are ripping you off. However, in my experience, I haven't found that to be the case. You just gotta really know what you're going there to look for. That is a place where you go to when you're looking for something in particular, and you can find a really good deal. For example, I got this dress, here's a picture of me wearing it, to wear to the Beyonce concert for half the retail price. Someone had never even worn it, the tags were on it. I got my black milk leggings on there for $8. I got this dress on there for half the retail price as well. They just got some really great stuff on there. Also, eBay will always be like the go. I've been using eBay since 2005 to buy things for myself regularly, and you can still find some really good gems there. I got my spiked Litas there last year for $20. eBay is the go. However, I will say ThredUp is slowly becoming my new favorite. ThredUp, sponsor me. ThredUp, ThredUp. I got so many amazing things on ThredUp, and their customer service is really good. Like, I had an issue with one of the American Apparel disco pants that I bought. It was not as advertised, and it kind of has like some pills on it, so they instantly refunded me. No questions asked. They didn't even ask for proof that they were messed up or not what they said they were. ThredUp. Check out ThredUp. Okay, that's another one that you have to kind of like know what you're looking for and like look for brands. So for example, I got a ton of my American Apparel stuff on there because I was searching for American Apparel. I got some Wild Fox on there. I got some Unif, Black Milk. You just got to know what brands you're looking for when you go on ThredUp. What is your favorite piece of clothing that was gifted to you? Too many to count because my partner, the love of my life, who I've spent the past 17 years with, knows me inside and out, and consistently over the course of our relationship, especially when I was deep in my fashion blog days, would buy me things that just spoke to them about me. So one year they went to my favorite consignment shop and got me these Miu Miu boots, which are a slay. They're 2000s Miu Miu boots for like really cheap. That was amazing. I can't believe that they did that. And then I'll insert a clip of me wearing it, but this, hold on, this Selkie dress, okay? Because, let me tell you something. This Selkie dress from 2021, they got me for anniversary. And this was before Selkie became like what it is today, which I don't know if I can recommend. It's a lot better quality because I have a couple of other Selkies that I thrifted that were made after this that are just not the same. We worked really hard to get to the point where we could afford to buy something like that, and like honestly things have gotten pretty bad for everybody, so there's no way we could do this now. But during the pandemic we had worked so hard to be able to afford slightly nicer things after living in genuine poverty for most of our relationship. They were really proud that they could buy that for me for our anniversary. So just because of that, that is one of my favorite things that they've ever given me. Then someone asked me what is my favorite piece of all time, and I will insert the clip because I don't think there's any way I could show it to you. It is this gorgeous 1950s velvet dress that came from a fellow fashion blogger in my city that I had met up with through fashion blogging. They contacted me and wanted to know if I wanted some of their grandmother's things, so I bought them from them, and I sold some of it, but I kept two of the dresses, and this dress in particular, like her grandma was just a diva, like a diva for sure, because look at this dress, just look at it. It will forever be one of my favorite pieces, especially because I know the history. Also, all the pieces that came from one particular estate, which I have done videos on this on TikTok, you can go watch, but I can like upload them as shorts on here as well. This one estate, when I had my vintage shop, this lady just called me out of the clear blue. I've told this story before, so if you've heard it before because you're coming from my TikTok, I'm so sorry. But this lady called me when I had my shop on Park Ave. She called me and she was like, do you have time to come look at some clothing today? And normally I wouldn't like hold buy off of anyone or take things on consignment off anyone at this point in my shop's history. So I don't really have time today. And she responded with, if you don't come in the next 30 minutes, I'm just throwing it all in the dumpster. I just need to get rid of it. So I was there. Okay. Turns out this was, if you know Rochester, New York, this was in a mansion off East Avenue, and these people were like friends with the Strong family. This was her ancestral home since the 1900s, the early 1900s, late 1800s. It was a Victorian mansion, and she had stuff going all the way back to the 1800s. That whole collection of stuff. This time my card was full. Great. And while I was trying to clean out the space on my card, I realized I have photos on these cards from 2015, 10 years ago. I've been using this camera to film my YouTube videos officially for 10 years. So maybe it's time for me to save up for an upgrade, because I'm sure it doesn't look great, but it's all that I have other than my phone. And my phone does not have enough space to film a YouTube video. Anyway, let's get back into it. Did you live with your parents, or did you just take everything with you? And I think I answered the question like, I live with my partner, have lived with my partner since I was 18. I moved out when I was 18, and I did in fact just take everything with me. And at the time that wasn't very much because I was 18, so I only had like my 2000s clothes that I show, and I did still wear them because I did not have enough money to buy a lot of new clothes. So my whole collection from the 2010s has been me building since I moved out. And then when we moved, because we haven't lived in the same place, I put everything, I got rid of as much as I could of everything else, but I kept all the clothes, and I moved all the clothes. I think someone else asked me, like, how did I move with all my clothes? Garbage bags. Okay, I just took garbage bags and would fill them with clothes. Filled them with clothes, and then I packed them all in the back of my Prius. R.I.P. baby girl. My Prius was like my baby girl and got me through so much. Shoved them all in the back of my Prius, and I made like so many different trips every single time. So, garbage bags full of shoes, garbage bags full of accessories, garbage bags full of clothes. Do you always wear cute outfits, or do you ever wear sweats to run around? I'm currently wearing my favorite PJ pants, but I always, when I go grocery shopping and stuff, I'll just wear like leggings or sweats out because like I don't really care. But when I'm not getting dressed up, when you're seeing me at home, I'm usually wearing, a lot of the times I wear my old 2000 tops like this one, around the house with my sweatpants, and I don't wear outside clothes inside. So fun fact, whenever you see me put on my shoes in my videos on TikTok and Instagram, it pains me inside. It hurts. It physically hurts because I also have contamination OCD. So it's taken me, like I've talked about having OCD. I have contamination OCD too. And it hurts. I end up vacuuming almost every time I film a video because I can't handle it. So no, the things I do for you. The things I do for you and my content. What do you do with new clothes? Do you have the space? No, I do not. I am pretty much at capacity at this point. This is why I only buy about a dozen pieces a year. I counted that between this year and last year, I think I bought a dozen pieces in the past 2 years. So, advice on those who only started their fashion journey. Go with what your heart is telling you, not just trends, okay? I would, obviously I have dressed trendy and kept up with trends my whole life. For example, when 90s came back into fashion, during the like 2010s Tumblr era, I went wild and I bought as much as I could because that was like what spoke to me to my core. I always wanted to dress like the cool baddies from the 90s when I was younger. So when it was trendy, I went and I bought as much as I could with the intention of keeping it forever because I knew that was like what my heart called to and that was what I wanted. So whether you're thrifting or going into a store that sells trendy things or shopping online, go with what your heart is telling you, that like you know in your being, in your core, that you're gonna just love for a long time, not just a flash in the pan item. And not saying that you can't participate in like trends and like buy a flash in the pan item, but when you're trying to like build a wardrobe, build a style, go with what your heart wants. Go with what sparks joy, as Marie Kondo would say. That is the best advice I could give you. And honestly, the other best advice I could give you, which is some of the hardest advice that I've had to come to terms with as well, because when you're using fashion as a means of personal expression and like artistic expression, like I always have, I am a Leo rising, can you tell? Somebody's always going to have an opinion. Someone is always going to have an opinion, and I had to learn from a very young age just to tune it out. So try your best to just wear what you love confidently and not care what them bitches are saying about you. This question. What was your favorite store to shop at in the 2000s that doesn't exist anymore? Hands down, Gadzooks. Do y'all remember Gadzooks? Forever 21 bought it out and then it no longer existed anymore. But every single store had a Volkswagen Beetle in it where they kept all the t-shirts on. Part of why, not only when the new Beetle came out, like at the late 90s with the lime green, but it's part of why I'm obsessed with the Beetles and why I have one. But Gadzooks. Gadzooks was the place for the snarky t-shirts. My mom got me my favorite Care Bear shirt that I still have there. Gadzooks, and then the Alloy catalog. So a lot of people bring up Delia's, in my videos, and that's totally fair because that's what was popular at the time. But we didn't have a Delia's here that was accessible to me, and anyway, it was like always way too expensive. So I shopped out of the Alloy catalog with my mom most of the time. I would like circle what I wanted for my birthday, and she'd get me like 1 or 2 pieces. And I wish the Alloy catalog still existed, because also Alloy Entertainment is the reason why we have the Pretty Little Liars books. I don't know. I miss it. I miss Alloy. I really do. I think that they would have transitioned into this era and had a lot of fun with it. It just had a lot of whimsy and fun to it. Tell us about the vintage shop. Did you work there or did you own it? So I owned it. In 2011, I started selling vintage online, and it was going okay, but my mom is a photographer, professional photographer, has been since the 80s, master photographer, so she wanted to open a studio. So we decided to split it, and she had the studio and I had a small section called Treasure Trove Vintage. Then after a couple years, she wanted to close the studio because it just was like a lot of upkeep, and my mom's older and she kind of wanted to just like relax. So then we opened Treasure Trove Vintage on Park Ave, and it was quite the endeavor. It was kind of a money pit, money that like none of us really had. At the time, I just don't think my city was ready for a like upscale vintage boutique, not to like talk myself up, but it just like wasn't the thing at the time. I think if I did it now, it might be a little bit different, but there wasn't enough business, there wasn't enough traffic, so I moved to being online only, and then just kind of felt lost for a really long time. Having to close it was a huge blow to my ego, especially as someone who is chronically ill. Like I've talked about, I have a lot of chronic illnesses. I can't work like a regular job like other people. So it was a huge blow to me, and also then I was dealing with a lot of mental health stuff. So it took me a long time to figure out my path, but here I am. I owned it. I went and worked there. It was pretty much me and my mom running it by ourselves. We did everything. I was like the sole proprietor. I curated everything. I was in the shop working all the time. I was the cashier. I was the stock person. I was the curator. I was the everything. And then, okay, when things started to pick up a little bit more and vintage did start to take off in my town, a property management company owned by lawyers came in, bought my building, raised the rent by 30%, and I could not afford to stay open. And this is why property investment people who are like lawyers and 1%ers should never be landlords. First of all, landlords already suck. Then on top of that being your landlord, and they just are like, well, this is a tax write-off for me, so whatever, now your rent is like $2,000. Guillotine. I could make a whole video talking about my experiences there because I have some wild stories running this shop, but that's like a whole thing. I could make a whole other video. Do you still have any pieces from Unif? This brand was so iconic, and yes, I do. I have my Hellraisers. My Hellraisers are my pride and joy, my everything. Here's like a million pictures of me wearing them. They're all the way in my basement, so I'm not going to bring them up now. But I also have the Unif Julian sandals that I got this past year in LA. Hold on, let me get them. Here they are. They are iconic like Bratz doll shoes. I couldn't afford to buy anything from Unif during the heyday, so the 2 pieces that I have are second hand from more recently. I got the Hellraisers in 2019 at the same thrift store in LA, actually, Crossroads in Silver Lake. Who were some of your favorite fashion blogs you followed? Ooh, perfect. So the reason that I started a fashion blog in the first place, I started on Tumblr because I was just posting like outfit of the days on my Tumblr, and then I discovered the blog Carla's Closet, and everything changed. It made me create a blog spot, so I was obsessed with Carla's Closet. Carla had the perfect mix to me of blending masculine and feminine by mixing, you know, hyper feminine vintage pieces. She loved vintage like I did, with more masculine silhouettes like motorcycle jackets and thick ankle boots, which was just like so me and spoke to me. Also, Fashion Toast. Rumi Neely forever was that girl in the 2010s and was the reason why I did an ombre in my hair, why I was obsessed with oversized, slouchy silhouettes. I was obsessed with the two of them. And then, not really a blogger, but Carrie Bradshaw is the reason why I got like so obsessed with fashion. Okay, so one of the questions I really want to touch in on, because I've talked about this a little bit on my TikTok and Instagram, but it's really important to me to talk about this. Someone said, how do you still fit into your clothes from years ago? And the answer is I don't. I don't. The things that don't fit me anymore, especially from high school, I just don't show. Because I have in my YouTube video, that YouTube video that I posted almost a year ago, I did show some of the things that don't fit me, but I was very underweight due to all my chronic health conditions for so long. And it was really hard to find clothes that fit me right, and the ones that did fit me right, I ain't fitting into them. Because I was so underweight, malnourished, could not keep weight on, everything was big and hung off of me. And I really did a good job at posing so you couldn't tell, because I was very self-conscious, but I've pretty much gained a lot of weight since then. And now I fill out the clothes the way they were meant to be filled out. So the question is, it's totally normal for your body to change since high school, since your 20s. I never want to make it seem like it's normal to fit into something that was your teen body, because my body is not my teen body anymore. So it is completely normal to gain weight, and there's nothing wrong. Any weight, any size. Because there's a lot of fat phobia in this world, and I definitely don't want to contribute to that. I believe that you can look good at any size, be healthy at any size, and fuck fat phobia. I love this question. How do you remember when you got things? Pic/blog references. I'm so impressed. That's just the way my mind works. My partner jokes that my mind is like a filing cabinet. I really attach, if I take a photo of something, especially if I have a photo of it, the memory of where I got the thing and what I did while I was wearing it will be burned into my brain. It truly is like a blessing and a curse. And I honestly wouldn't wish it on most people, because remembering everything like that is rough. It's rough. What was your childhood like? Unorthodox. I'm very, very lucky and very grateful to my parents, especially my mom, because she raised me to think for myself, be independent, question everything. So I was really encouraged to express myself the way that I wanted to express myself. And for my mom, my mom was a trendsetter. Okay, here's some pictures of her. I have a lot of her old clothing. She was a singer and entertainer in the 70s, and like mother like daughter, she prioritized her freedom over ever making a lot of money. It wasn't something she made a lot of money doing. So she learned how to thrift and find her stage outfits, which slayed, by the way. Very cheap and affordable, but still be the vibe that she wanted to bring to the table. So having that as a mom, she passed that down to me, and I really always wanted to express myself through clothing like she did. And so she taught me her ways. Basically, we never had a lot of money, so we would go around and hit up all the stores, JCPenney, all the mall stores, and buy everything that was on clearance. We never paid full price for anything. It was very rare if we spent full price on things, and we would go thrifting. So I was very encouraged to express myself creatively in the way that I wanted, but at the same time, I was a very lonely kid. I didn't have a lot of friends. I was kind of like the weirdo. I went to an alternative school where there wasn't a lot of structure, and that was great, but at the same time, I was very ostracized. Was lucky to have my brother and my nieces, because my brother, is 22 years older than me. So when he was like 27 when he moved down the street from me. His daughters, my nieces, are more like my sisters. So we grew up doing everything together, sharing everything, doing everything. So I had a support system in my family, and with my niece, who was more like my sister. But other than that, it was a lot of freedom, but also very lonely. I don't know if you wanted to know all this, but there you go. That was what my childhood was like. Life-changing experience was discovering the album Europop by Eiffel 65 as a child and listening to it over and over and making up my own dance moves to it. If that tells you anything about me. How did I meet my partner? I didn't even plan this. I swear to God. I swear. MySpace. Okay, MySpace did in fact ruin my relationship. My relationship that I had before my current partner, which taught me everything I needed to know about what I didn't want. I'm not going to get too much into it because I don't want to trigger anyone, but it rhymes with schmabuser. After MySpace did ruin my past relationship, and like any scene girl in 2008, was posting incessantly cute little selfies of me and my scene. In comes a little indie music page of a solo artist being like, "Hey cutie." And I was like, who is this? And I went to the page, listened to the music, and was like, oh, this person's kind of cute. So I friended his personal, or he friended me, I can't remember because we were like going back and forth in my comments. And then the rest was history. We literally met on MySpace because he was a MySpace musician. We literally met on MySpace as scene kids and have been together ever since. When we tell people that we met on MySpace, they're like, no, oh my god, it's the most emo scene thing ever, okay? How do you determine what to keep versus what to let go of? Mainly if I put it on, so I am getting rid of quite a lot now. I just have to list it on Depop. So please, if you want cheap Depop my used clothing, because I'm not going to sell it for a lot, please get on me in the comments to sell it. Basically, if I put it on and it just does not feel like me anymore and I just feel wrong, there's just like an inherent wrongness there, I get rid of it. Do you have any 2010 Target clothes? Exhilaration. Yes. I have a whole series. Some of it is on YouTube Shorts here, but I have a whole series on TikTok of all the Target collections that I still have. And if you want that in a long form video, let me know. Seriously, I'm so down to just making long form videos about whatever you want. So just give me all the ideas. I still saved all of your ideas from this past August when I asked, which my world kind of imploded in the fall. The reason why I didn't get to filming YouTube videos is we have 2 big medical emergencies happening in my family and I haven't been able to sit down and do nearly what I wanted or what I planned, but I'm getting to it now. So I really miss doing this and this is so much fun for me. What are items you regretted at the time but are glad you kept? All my scene clothes. Because there was a moment there when I thought that I didn't want to keep like my trip pants and stuff because I was embarrassed at the person that I used to be. But it turns out you really can't take the emo out of the girl because I never stopped listening to that music. And I never will stop listening to that music. So I'm really glad that I didn't get rid of any of that stuff because I think I would cry. I think I would cry if I did. Okay, I love this one. Is there a trend from the 2010s that you see coming back? Yes. I already see so many of them coming back, like colored tights, skinny jeans. I'm definitely going to make a comeback. Recession style shoes are on their way to making a comeback. I already saw some really interesting cutout wedges, which just takes me right back to like 2010. Like a Lita style ankle boot, I definitely see coming back. And then I think we're gonna have like a Tumblr grunge revival because indie sleaze, you know, like kind of came back this fall, but I feel we're still not at a place collectively to bring back like looking that disheveled and dirty, because if you look at the rise of the conservatism and fascism leading to things like clean girl aesthetics and trad wife, which if you participate in a clean girl aesthetic, it doesn't inherently make you that, but it is coming from a place of being uniform, of being clean, of being acceptable. And I don't really think we're in a place societally to bring back indie sleaze to where like we accepted the dirty, grungy, gross, disgusting, I slipped in my makeup, I didn't shower kind of look that comes inherently with indie sleaze. And Tumblr grunge, I already see, you know, like we have kids who were kids. I call them kids because I'm old. We have kids who were children during like the 2010s Tumblr grunge era, like 90s revival, who are in their 20s now, who, man, I wish I dressed like that, or like remember the good old days, like we all do, right? Like I said earlier, when I was growing up, I wanted to dress like the 90s baddies that I saw that I was too young to participate in. And I feel like that's what's going to happen. I feel like the kids who were too young to participate in the 90s Tumblr grunge revival are going to bring it back. And we're going to bring back the music. I think we're about to have like a great period of a rise of garage band type vibe again, but with femme. It's time for the femme garage band movement. Okay, but yeah, that for sure. And then skinny pants and braids. The obsession with braids is definitely already like here again. So, has anything you saved deteriorated unexpectedly? I take really good care of my stuff. I don't have dry rot. I've never had a dry rot problem, knock on wood. However, I did have a Kathy Van Zeeland purse disintegrate on me. Not from dry rot or anything, just because it was built really bad. And I pulled it out being like, I'm going to wear this purse again after having worn it for a few years. And it completely just disintegrated, crumbled, fell apart on me, and I got so sad. Also, a lot of my vintage 1960s shoes deteriorated on me, but I feel like that's more expected because they're old. But yeah, that Kathy Van Zeeland purse just totally crumbled on me and it was really sad. How do you combat dealing with burnout? Really good question because I deal with burnout so regularly from my chronic fatigue and chronic illnesses. Pace yourself. It took me 35 years. Well, it took me 20 years. So I was diagnosed 20 years ago now. It took me 20 years to really come to terms with I have to take things at my own pace and I have to allow myself a bigger sliver of time to recover than most people do. Say you don't work for yourself like I do and you work like a regular office job. When I worked retail, when I worked as a personal assistant, when I ran my store and had like set hours that I had to be there, I had to carve out a bigger section of time to allow myself to recover. So most people can get like 6 to 8 hours a day of sleep, right? And be fine. You need to allow yourself a bigger chunk of time to rest. And I mean really, really, truly rest. I know that's hard. I know that's hard in a capitalistic society where we are measured, our worth is like measured by our output, but whenever you can, make sure you are prioritizing real rest. That means getting off your phone, getting off your laptop, maybe vegging out to like a mindless TV show or reading. Reading is what really helps me detach. Taking it slow. When you feel good, remember that it's not a race and that you don't have to race to get everything done. You can pace yourself. Like prioritize. What do I need to get done right this second? What is like my work demanding that I get done in this moment? Prioritize that and then just take everything else slow. You don't have to get everything done in one day. That is another lesson that took me so long to learn. You know, when I'm feeling good, I'm like, well, I have to clean the house. I have to get this work project done. I have to do this. I have to do this. No. I can take my time, get to like cleaning the house when I can. I don't have to get it all done when I feel good, because if I get it all done when I feel good, the next day is going to be just a total waste. So pace yourself, take your time, and rest within the constraints of what this, you know, hellscape that we're living in allows you to. Favorite band? Bright Eyes. Forever and always, the poetry of my soul. I know that's such a fucking emo ass answer, but Bright Eyes, Led Zeppelin, The Doors, and then not a band, but Joji. Music is inherently like such an important part of me. Music is the reason why I am motivated to express myself this way, and obviously like you've seen that in my videos when I work really hard to capture the emotion of those time periods with the songs that I was listening to back then. It's just woven into me in a way that I can't even describe. So narrowing down favorite music is always super, super hard. I would listen to anything person. You know, like that trend on TikTok, like, would they listen to this? This one is for the I listen to everything person. And always, every single time I'm like, yeah, I would listen to that. Actually, I would. I am that I listen to everything person. I know you mostly do fashion, but I would love to see one of your playlists. So I will link it here. One of my public playlists, not all my playlists are public. The one that I listen to the most called High Anxiety by Anxiety, which is my main playlist that I listen to every single day. That one is public, so you can go listen to that if you want. That is like what I listen to on the daily and is more modern music. Other public playlist is my 2012 playlist that I literally was listening to. I made it in 2012, is what I was listening to when I wrote my fashion blog. And then my other public playlist is one that I made last year because I found my old iPod, my 2007 iPod. So I went through it all and I put every single song that was on that iPod in this playlist. So if you want to know what I was listening to from 2007 to 2016 when I stopped updating it, you can go listen to that. It's all of my teen music. It's over 600 songs. It's ridiculous. But I do have other playlists. If you want me to make them public, I can. But I have so many, okay? And I do listen to them all. And then I try to be like witty and cute, haha, like them have like cute pictures and descriptions. So I have a Rock and Roll Is Here to Stay, which is my classic rock playlist. Love that one. I'm So Moody, which the I'm So Moody playlist was also my everyday playlist in like 2015 and 2016. So it's just, I made this playlist back during that time. So like, what do we got on here? We have Coconut Records, Fleet Foxes, TWRP, and Intersex Party, which that's a whole other thing, okay? A whole other story time video that I could make, which is, I made a TikTok last week talking about it, but I always feel uncomfortable talking about this because I never want to like hop on the internet and seem like I'm bragging about who I know. But part of why I like needed to have amazing fits was because my partner is a YouTuber and we used to go to conventions all the time, and our friends are other 2010s golden era age YouTubers. I was obsessed with Ninja Sex Party and Game Grumps for the longest time. So one time I went to see my friend Sean, Jacksepticeye, on tour in Toronto, and I was sitting there in backstage just waiting for him to be done chatting with my partner, and then a group of guys came in and I was like, who is this? It was TWRP. And I tried to contain myself because I think The Hit was my most listened to that song that year. So I was like, I was trying to keep it so cool. I was trying so hard. God, what is this? I could make a whole story time on that. Not that experience, but like what it was like going to conventions in the gaming YouTube worlds into the 2010s. I could make a whole video on that. My K-pop playlist, because I was into K-pop for a very long time. From like 2012 to like 2018, 2019, made a lot of my mental illness worse and kind of like broke my brain. Not K-pop specifically, but the fandom and being part of it did not help the mental issues I was going through at the time, and my brain kind of broke a little bit during that era. So I don't have the most fond memories of this playlist, but I have it. My EDM playlist, which I was listening to again last night, and I was like, damn, some of these EDM songs are bops. But my very favorite EDM song of all time. I was thinking about this earlier and I have no one to talk to about this because nobody understands. The song Being Flat by Mr. Oizo. Not Flat Beat by Mr. Oizo. The song Being Flat by Mr. Oizo is one of my favorite songs in the entire world. And they took it off Spotify. They took the Hand in the Fire EP off Spotify. Hand in the Fire from the Hand in the Fire EP featuring Charlie XCX is an amazing Charlie XCX song, and you can listen to the 2016 version of it on Spotify still, but the original version from the EP is amazing, and that whole EP is not on Spotify. I can only listen to it on SoundCloud, and it hurts my soul. So if you ever want like a banger, listen to Being Flat. You won't be disappointed, okay? I needed somewhere to scream about this because I'm still frustrated to this day that it's not on Spotify. Add it to Spotify, babe. Anyway, I have public playlists, go check them out, but if you want me to make my other playlists public, let me know. Ever feel the urge to change your style at some point? Don't, by the way, I love it. I don't think I have like one specific style that I could wrap up neatly in a bow, so you don't have to worry. I'm not gonna change my style. But 90s, you know, like 90s whimsigoth, 90s witch vibes is always gonna be like my go-to day to day, and I've never once in my life felt the urge to change that. What accessories do you wear most often? Well, if you can tell by how much I talk with my hands, rings. Rings are my most worn accessories. I have a whole dish right here on my dresser full of the ones that I wear every day. These are my everyday ones. These are just my everyday ones. I have more over here that I don't wear as much. Ring girly forever and always, and that's definitely the 90s witch rubbing off on me. But I don't even have one specific ring. Probably this one is a moonstone ring that my partner got me for our 15th anniversary, and then the of hearts ring. Can we even focus this camera? And it's focusing. This two of hearts ring, and then this ring, this moonstone ring, are definitely the ones that I wear the most. Every single day. Oh, and the carnelian band from Shop Moonlight and Sage. I feel like this video is probably so long, I don't even know if you care. What era was your favorite fashion? Who is your fashion icon? It can be fictional. If money wasn't an obstacle, what fashion item would you purchase? If money wasn't an obstacle, what fashion item would I purchase? Definitely more of the Miu Miu Spring 2010 collection, because that's just like the pinnacle for me. I don't really keep up with like high fashion anymore or runway collections. I used to all the time. I probably would get like an archival Alexander McQueen piece, but like anything new that's going on in the fashion world, I don't keep up with, just because I just find it exhaustingly elitist and kind of tone deaf at this point. I know it is art, but I feel like so much has already been done before, that why are we still promoting this culture of weird elitism that only plays into the 1%? The whole thing just turns me off, and it gives like capital Hunger Games vibes in our Lord's year of 2025. So I don't keep up with anything, but not like you asked that, sorry. Definitely would go on a shopping spree at Fashion Brand Company. I love their stuff. I would be happy with that. Maybe buy myself a really expensive ring from Swank Smith Metal Company. Fashion icon Carrie Bradshaw. My lovely viewer NT asked if I could make a video series about how I think each of the astrological signs would dress, and I totally want to do that. No, I didn't get to everybody because there were so many amazing questions that were sent in. So genuinely, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't believe that there are this many people out there that care about my opinions on anything. Honestly. Or care about how I have to dress or what I have to say. Hopefully I didn't bore you, because it's one thing to do short form content and have people interested, but whenever I open my mouth and start yapping, then I feel like I can get boring and pedantic, although I do yap a lot on Twitch, and my Twitch viewers say that I'm not boring or pedantic. If you made it to this point in the video, thank you. Thank you. Doing this has truly changed my life, and I can't wait to make more long form content with all of you. So if you want to see me answer more questions, let me know. I can make a video where I answer more questions, but I hope you enjoyed listening to me yap and answer some of your most asked questions. I know the closet tour was like one of the most asked questions, and I already made that. And then how I preserve all my clothes, I hope I answered that okay. Thank you so much, and I will see you again very soon. I'm working on finishing up a vlog as we speak, so I hope you enjoy a little lifestyle content from me. Should I say my old YouTube catchphrase? Stay cheap and lazy. Okay. Bye.